Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. A little collaboration, hopeful goodness. In the form of Lough? Is that how you say it? Lough Gill Brewing. Faith American Brewing. Kelsey Grammer. This is Cask. This is a barrel-aged Imperial Irish Coffee Stout coming in at 12% alcohol by volume. Faith American. Kelsey Grammer. Fraser. I've reviewed two of their beers, I believe, Calico Man and maybe their Faith American Ale. I didn't mind them. You know, they're tasty. They're well done for what they were. They weren't kind of hyper on the pulse of what a lot of people make today, but I dug them. Lough. Oh, man, words are hard. Gill Brewing. Never heard of them. But lo and behold, at a local like beer joint, I saw a 4-pack of this. It's barely beer, 12%. Let's do it. A collaboration with Faith American comes from that Lough Gill. I'm curious to see if they have any kind of relation to each other. Let me adjust my volume just a hair here. It's kind of bothering me. It looked like it was peaking kind of weirdly. Anyway, I don't know if they have a... like... I know Faith American has their brewery, but I believe they produce their beer somewhere else. I wonder if they have some kind of joint space together. I don't know. That's just me assuming. What do we have in the back here? We have Lough Gill Barrel Aged Series 2021, number 5. Okay, so this is from 2021. Really? Okay. So it's a couple years old in collaboration with Kelsey Grammer and Faith American, aged in whiskey barrels and coffee infused. Colin Kilty Distillery and Soma Coffee. So the coffee is probably, I didn't know it was 2021 until I read that part. So the coffee has to be pretty died down at this point. So it kind of makes sense. It says L21 3940, so I assume 21 is the year. I don't know what 3940 would mean. We're gonna review it anyway. It's a barrel aged beer. We'll see. So you're talking about 12% Irish Stout. That's weird. Coffee Irish Stout, and that's so weird. Barrel-aged Irish Stout, I haven't seen a ton of them. But in the grand scheme of things, I'll tell you what. The reason why I noticed this beer is because of the label. Gold on black. You're going to get me every time. And, you know, it was a barrel. Gold on black, 12-ounce can. I saw the word cask. My spidey sense was tingling, so I really do like the label. I think it's very, very, very cool. As far as the beer goes, I mean, it looks the part of a Irish Stout. Not so much a 12% couple-year-old coffee stout. Usually the head is going to dissipate on something like that fairly quickly. But yeah, it looks the part of an Irish Stout. It's good nose. Yeah, definitely get coffee. You know, it might not be there in the taste, but you definitely get it there aromatically. You definitely get a nice rich maltiness. A little bit of sweetness there. A little milk chocolate. It's mostly like baker's chocolate, roasty, toasty. Kind of more like Russian Imperial Stouty as far as roasty toastiness goes. But there is this sweetness floating in behind. And there's this elevated kind of cherry-like kind of sweetness that I'm just assuming is the spirit. It's not singeing your nostrils. It's not a huge nose to the point where you're like, man, this is just going to be a huge burly beer. It's 12%. Has a lot of ABV to it. It smells nice, rich, and almost slightly breakfast stouty because of that coffee. It's not necessarily have that maple, but the way that kind of spirit kind of works and has this little bit of sweetness comes off kind of a little bit cherry-like to me. It's kind of like a little bit kind of breakfast stouty in a good way. Doesn't smell like stale or why am I spacing on a word I use a billion times when I talk about aged beer? I'm going to sit here and not say anything until I think about it. I have a 3-year-old, or almost a 3-year-old. I can just say wet paper bag. You know what I'm talking about. Oxidized. Anyway, goddamn. Anyway, but it smells really nice. I like it. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Okay. That's tasty. Not to act surprised, but that's a cool beer. I like that quite a bit. And I'll tell you right now, it's 100%, 100% an Irish stout. It is. Just the way the mouthfeel kind of comes off. I mean, it's a bit more roasty. It's a bit more toasty. You have that barreling going on. You have the coffee in play here. There's a lot of moving parts. But as far as the base core of the beer goes, that, again, that mouthfeel and the way the beer kind of shows itself, it very much is an Irish stout, which is kind of surprising. I thought all those moving parts might kind of just... Because for me, an Irish stout is a dryness, it is a mouthfeel thing. You're talking about coffee and barrel aging in spirit. I think those are the things that are very, very hard to add to a beer like this and keep those core elements alive. But I think it's very much there. Yeah, a big roasty toasty component. It is dry. It has this nice sweetness to it. There is a sweet spiritiness to it, but it has that core Irish stout inside of it. The coffee is still there. Probably way more pronounced when it was fresher. But aromatically, it's absolutely there. In the taste, you're still getting it. Sure. Is it being propped up a little bit by the roasty toastiness and the maltiness of the beer? Yes. But you can still get there as coffee added to this. Coffee infused to this. And then the spirit portion of the show is really nice. Again, it kind of adds a little bit of a breakfast stouty feel to me. There's not a huge barrel component here. It's there, but it's not huge. So it's very much more of a sweetened spirit. It's not an overly sweet beer. I don't want to make it sound like that. But that spirit portion of the show has that kind of additive, kind of Belgian candy sugar, kind of additive sweetness to it. To where it just adds this little bit of kind of twist on it that makes me think when the coffee's involved that it's like, how about an Irish coffee breakfast stout? That kind of makes sense. You know, it doesn't taste like Bailey's, but you know what I'm trying to say. There is this inherent kind of similarity. There's a DNA between those two things, a breakfast stout and this. You add that spirit on top of it. You add that little bit of barrel. It makes for a really, really, really fun barrel-aged beer. Lough, Gill. We're sticking with Lough right now. Lough, Gill. Good on you. Kelsey Grammer. Faith American. Good on you too. Just kicking myself in the ass. He was doing a beer tasting. It was like a beer and something tasting, like 30 minutes away from where I lived. Pretty sure if I reached out, I could have did a podcast. I could have recorded a podcast with him. I'm just tired. I didn't do it, so I'm kind of bummed I didn't do that. Next time he's in the area, I'll make sure I do it. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I shouldn't really speak about it this way because I'm really focusing on the Faith American side of things, where Lough Gill is the driver on the seat here. And this is a really good beer. I'm gonna look them up and see what their MO is, see what their whole ethos is, because I'm kind of curious if they're making stuff like this and it's this tasty. I don't see why they shouldn't be on my radar. It took, you know, tossed salad and scrambled eggs to get on my radar. Yeah. Is this gonna... How do I phrase this? This is where we come to the real reels. If your life is all about max to the 9, BCBS, Florida pastry stout life, does this move the needle for you? I don't know. Probably not. If you like beer, if you like crap beer, like, and it doesn't have to be 3C's thick or have a Star Wars label or be, you know, aged on pizza and money, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, those things don't really turn the needle for you, and you just like well-made beer, and you appreciate traditional styles, but still embrace newness, because that's where this beer kind of has this cool kind of intersect, is that it's a super ultra traditional style. An Irish stout is about as ultra traditional as you're going to get. Barrel aging. I'm not saying it's not traditional, but it's a lot more new school, or at least more in the mainstream new school as of late. Coffee, it's put in the beer, but it's a newer rather than later thing. Taking three of those elements and merging them together, it's not something you see all that much. When's the last time I had a barrel-aged stout, Irish coffee stout? I don't know if I've ever had one. I might have. A coffee barrel-aged Irish stout? I've never had before. And I've drank thousands and thousands and thousands of beers. I think they did a really good job of it. And a very tasty beer. Curious to see what other people think about it, because I think it's pretty damn good. Yeah. If you dig on that traditional style, if you like a barrel, it's not hyper aggressive. If you're cool with coffee, again, can't speak to this when I was hyper fresh, but you dig on coffee, but you don't want it to be like coffee. I think you really dig on this beer. It's one of the better barrel-aged beers I've had as of late. Sure. Is it Mount Rushmore Stennis? No. But it's very tasty and I enjoy it. It is one of the better barrel-aged coffee Irish stouts. That would default to number one, so that's not fair. Valued availability, $19 American for a 4-pack. Barrel-aged beers, it's kind of, average. Actually, probably a skosh below average nowadays, so, yeah, not too bad. And leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like barrel-aged beers, you like Irish stouts, you appreciate it. If you like barrel-aged beers, you don't need 3C stick, new school craziness, and you appreciate old school styles. I think you really find this really tasty. Lough, Gill. Have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? Have you had this beer? Please, down there, let me know what you think. Faith American. What's your thoughts on that? Have you had their beers? Have you been to the breweries? Actually, can you go there and drink? I don't know these things. Would have found out if I ever recorded a podcast. Hopefully, if you have info, you'll throw it all down here and stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.